Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. My name's Marcus. If this is your first time here, if you're tuning in later, I usually, try to do these live streams weekly, if not daily. Yeah, it depends on the news that's coming out. But as of lately, it seems that things just keep tumbling into a spiral of insanity, and I've tried to kind of just step away from it, especially after the inauguration, and get my head right, try to figure out where I stand in this crazy world. And I've yet to really figure that out. I don't think many people really know what the heck is actually going on. And today's topic, I really don't have my hands too deep into it. So I figured maybe I'd go live and try to get your input and see what you have to say about it, what you may know. As you see in the title, if you clicked on this video, you can't really miss it. It's trending everywhere. It's trending on Twitter. It's all over Reddit. It's all over Facebook. It's everywhere. You can't, the news today is just, it's so in your face. To be out of the loop is ignorance, basically. But anyways, a few years ago, I had a buddy tell me about Robinhood, and I tried to get into it, and I couldn't make sense of it all. I really needed like a helping hand to guide me through it. So I kind of backed away from that, but I still receive emails from it's saying I don't have data. What's going on? Let's check out the stream health. Stream is healthy. Stream settings. Hold on a sec. Hopefully we'll get some more people in here, but I got to check and see what's going on. It's saying there's no data. Hopefully the stream isn't lagging. Oh, looks like it's all right. But anyways, okay. Everything should be all right. This is the thing about live streaming. You never know if you're doing good or if it's lagging. That's why it's kind of nice to have chat to let you know what's really going on, so you don't have to pay attention to that. But anyways, as I was saying, so I had signed up for a Robinhood account and kind of browsed over it because I had a buddy that was big into it. And, he kind of told me, hey, if you don't have a side hustle, what are you doing? So I looked into it, and I couldn't make sense of that. I know how to save money, but financially, I am not the most stable person in the world. Like I said, I definitely needed a helping hand, so I backed away from it. The stream's fine. I appreciate that. Thank you. Give me any input if you know anything about this. But so anyways, basically what happened, from what I understand, is some guy on Reddit, posted about, he made a subreddit about how the stocks for GameStop, were basically going up, and he put it out there to buy in. So, just this group started following. Who this guy is, I'm not sure anybody knows. Could he be a plant? Maybe. But what we have here, and what I do know so far, is from what I'm reading. And, if you're just as confused as I am, welcome. Don't feel stupid. We're going to try and figure this out together, see what's really going on. But my main question is, why is this happening? At a time like this, who has money to invest in these stocks? How many people are going to lose everything because of this? It's kind of a scary time, and I think that's for anybody. I'm going to pull this up here. This guy kind of made sense of what's really going on, at least for me. All right. So he says right here that short selling involves borrowing a stock from someone who owns it with the promise to return it at a later date and pay a small fee based on the value of the stock. You then sell the stock, wait for the price to drop, and buy it back at a cheaper price. You then return the stock to the original owner and pocket the difference. This allows people to make money off of a drop in the price of a stock. Unlike with regular stock trading, however, the potential losses of you are wrong. Are not limited. If you buy a $10 share in a company and the company goes bankrupt, you lose $10. If you short a company with a $10 share price and that price jumps to 100 per share, you just lost 90. Since the start of the pandemic, GameStop has clearly been struggling in a way, such a big way, that a lot of people, including major hedge funds, decided to short GameStop a lot. Let's say I own a share of GameStop stock and you want to short it. I lend you my share and you sell it. Now someone else wants to short the stock as well. So you borrow the share from the person you sold it to and they then sell it, and so on. If this happens enough times, you can have more people who owe back and share to the original owner and then are actual shares of the stock. This happens to GameStop, which had 140% of its share sold short. This presents a problem for the short sellers and if the price of the stock starts going up instead of down. Because there aren't enough shares to go around, if they decide they all need to cut their losses and buy back the shares they owe at once. Some smaller investors, including those at Wall Street Bets, noticed this happening to GameStop stock and decided to take advantage. They bought up a bunch of shares themselves, driving the price up further, limiting the availability of shares. This caused some short sellers to pull out, which drove the price up further, which caused more short sellers to pull out, and so on. Meanwhile, the attention brought to this story and the quickly rising share price caused more people to buy the stock in the hope of taking advantage of the meteoric rise in price to make money themselves. Back in the summer, you could buy a share for $4 a piece. Yesterday, those same shares were $147 each. Today, they're $345. The big hedge funds that were selling the stock short are currently literally billions in the hole, while the smaller investors are making money hand over fist. That all said, GameStop is still a struggling company underneath it all. It is nowhere near as valuable as the current share price, which means that eventually the bubble is going to burst and that price is going to come crashing back down. Anyone who buys in at the top expecting it to keep shooting up is going to lose a ton of money. Anyone still shorting it at the time is going to make a ton of money. And anyone who bought it early and sells before it pops is going to make a ton of money. It's not entirely clear whether the hedge funds are going to wind up actually losing billions in the end, or if they can recoup some of that when the bubble bursts. They may or may not come out okay, but there are definitely going to be a bunch of people currently riding the hype train who lose whatever they invest at this point. So I was wondering, I read this morning that, Robinhood, basically shut down being able to buy in. You could only sell. So now reading this, that makes sense. Why would you be able to, if this is going to cause, drastic effects, long-term effects on this company and these investors, why would they allow this craziness to keep going on? A company that has been going bankrupt, from what it says, when this bursts, it's going to create a lot of financial problems. Like I said, I don't have all the technicalities of this. It kind of makes sense to me. But then again, I'm kind of wondering, why would, Robinhood, that is, it's for the people, supposedly, small investors, and I received this email this morning, and it says, like I said, I signed up. I haven't had any affiliation with them in years. But they're saying here, it's been a tough day, and we're grateful for you being a Robinhood customer. In light of extraordinary market conditions this week, we temporarily limited buying for certain securities. This morning, starting tomorrow, we plan to allow limited buys of these securities. We'll continue to monitor the situation and may make adjustments as needed. And the people buying into this, you had to have known this was coming. I'm not saying it's fair. But you had to have known, they're not going to allow us to monopolize the game. It's unheard of. And whoever this, I just get this feeling, as much as I don't know about this, the first thing that came to mind when I started reading about this is this was planted. There's a guy that came on Reddit and started sounding the horn for this. Who is he? And of course, he should remain anonymous. I'm assuming, but it just it's too easy. Why hasn't someone done this before? It's just a way to get the masses to follow along. But it says here that certain securities, due to the ongoing market, the following securities are currently set to position closing only. I read something about AMC, which is the theaters, and then we have GameStop, all these other ones. I don't know what these other ones are. This means you can sell and close your positions, but you can't open new positions. I'm assuming that means buy in. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy what's really going on. This was a temporary decision made to best continue serving you. It was not an easy one to make. We know it's led to frustration and confusion and wanted to provide some clarity. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people, they pulled out. I've heard a lot of people saying they deleted the app. As a brokerage firm, we have many financial requirements, including SEC net capital obligations and clearinghouse deposits. Some of these requirements fluctuate based on volatility in the markets and can be substantial in the current environment. These requirements exist to protect investors and the markets as we take our responsibilities to comply with them seriously, including through measures we have taken today. So basically what they're saying is they're going to protect their assets. Anybody that is a long-time customer, not anyone that hopped on the train yesterday and started buying in. There's players that have been in the game before this app was even created, This past year in particular has shown us that the financial markets are for everyone, not just institutional investors and hedge funds. We've seen a new generation enter the market, and they're sparking conversation about what it means to be an investor. We stand in support of you, our customers, in bold. It just seems too fishy. There's something going on. I watched this video and this kind of made light of what's going to happen if this continues. And this is where, we've been hearing about the Great Reset. And this guy, he pinpoints it.
And it will mean the collapse of the dollar. It will just blow up. And anything in a dollar denomination will become worthless, even as consumer goods and food supplies rise in price. Now, do keep in mind that people like Bill Gates and other very rich people like him are buying farmland, not...
Right there. I was wondering, I keep hearing about Bill Gates being the largest owner of farmland. Well, what does that have to do? Okay, so he's going to buy up all this farmland and stop farming it, for, the whole depopulation theory. But listen to what he says.
Commercial real estate, and certainly not housing or apartments or anything like that. Because what's happened is that, there's been an inflation of commercial real estate, and there's been an inflation of housing as well. Because all these houses, these apartments, these office buildings, they are overvalued. And especially now with COVID, that the rates of occupancy are so low, we'll see it's all about to go pop.
At H&R Block,
oh, come on now.
Get your maximum refund guaranteed. Get every credit and deduction you deserve.
And the only people who are going to make it out okay are those who have real assets. Real assets like, for instance, farmland. Real assets like precious metal. Not certificates of precious metal, note, but actual physical precious metal that they have in their possession. Because a lot of these precious metal brokerage firms, they sell you gold or silver or platinum, and what they're really selling is certificates. And they have these commodities on hold somewhere. And often as not, they sell it more than once, and often as not, in the case of a sudden and sharp collapse, and they sell off the commodity, and all of a sudden you have paper that's literally worthless.
See, this is what scares me is, I own zilch property. I own what you see in front of me. Me, myself, and I, and this microphone. That's it. So it scares me, like my generation, like, okay, we're gonna be slaves the rest of our life if this is what's gonna happen. That's what enters my mind. If the only people that are gonna make it out are people that own real assets, I barely even have a savings. So that's what scares me. And I'm glad for this generation to be able to explain it to us. I mean, because I have no idea what's about to happen. I fear for it. I fear the unknown. And that's the scariest part about this, is we have no idea what's actually going to happen.
So the only people who are going to make out okay if this whole thing goes kaflooey are people who are holding hard assets, farmland, physical possession of precious metals. Not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is ephemeral. And you guys who are into cryptos, you'll believe me, but I've been arguing this for years. It's speculative. And when the whole stock market goes kaflooey, when this whole big giant balloon pops, as it might very well because of GameStop, well, cryptos are not going to be your savior. The only thing that will save your hide is having actual assets, hard assets. Look at Bill Gates.
See, that's another thing that makes sense to me, is I've just never had a good feeling about Bitcoin. I've never had the urge to look into it. And for the most reason is because, just pure laziness. Like, if I can't hold it in my hand, it's not real. If it's not green, it's not real. And that could very well be my downfall. But I watch people like Christopher Green and, his Bitcoin rich programs, and it just seems like such a sham. Like, and if you understand any of this, comment below, give your input. Help me understand what's literally going on. That's why I'm going live, is to hopefully get some input, and see, what other people think about this and how they're feeling, where they're sitting.
Guy, I think he's scummy and creepy and weird, and his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein bears looking into. But the guy knows more or less what he's doing insofar as investments. Why do you think he's buying farmland? Because it's a hard asset. Everything goes kaflooey, but land always remains. So anyway, it's funny to watch this GameStop thing. It's funny as hell. I mean, I'm just laughing my ass off. But it's scary. And those creeps at the Federal Reserve and the financial services and the hedge funds, they are really, really scared because they realize not that some hedge funds are going to go bankrupt. I mean, that's funny. And to some of them even, it's very funny. No, they realize that the game might be up.
Can someone comment below and describe to me what hedge funds really are? I could look it up, I guess, but I've been reading it and I keep hearing about it, and I just keep forgetting to actually look in what hedge funds are. It's obviously something that you're buying into. I guess I don't understand the terminology of it.
That this giant balloon that has been blown up since mid-March of 2020, it might blow up any moment. It might happen today or tomorrow or within the next week or so.
Lucid Spark is the...
All right, I'm not going to sit through that anymore. Most definitely. Yeah, so just, comment below. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on all this. It's just a crazy time that we're in. And I throughout all this, before the elections, all of that, the whole Q thing and whatnot, I kept hearing about the Great Reset, the biggest transfer of wealth in history. And it's almost like this was pre-planned. And, as the average working American, I really doubt that, the working class have the time or the ability to pre-plan this kind of stuff. Yeah, I feel like these thoughts get planted and people start acting on them, following the mass, doing these things to play out the game. It's just, it really is a scary time. How many people just follow along, and it's like, after so many people felt, duped with yesterday, or with the whole, Great Awakening, it feels like we were asleep at the wheel the whole time, and I was part of that for a while. I backed out of it, this last year after seeing everything go down. Here's another one. I think I read this last night. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Here's another thing that kind of explains what's, kind of going on here. Someone says, I know at least one of my followers doesn't quite understand what is happening in the stock market right now, and that's enough to motivate me to explain this in somewhat of a turning point in world history. First, you need to understand what a short is in trading. A short is when you borrow a stock from a broker and sell it immediately at its current price. Then you hope the stock's price falls such that you can buy the stock back at a lower price and return the shares you borrowed to the broker, but keeping the difference. Example, let's say I want to short XYZ, which has a current price of $10. I borrow one share and sell it immediately at $10. I have $10 now, but I owe my broker the one share I borrowed. One thing from all this, at least I'm learning a little bit about trading. It's kind of making it exciting. It seemed so boring before. You would think making money would be super exciting. And some people are into it. It hasn't been in the forefront of my thoughts. So the broker, the one share I borrowed, then let's say the price of XYZ drops to 7. I now decide to buy it back, my short position, and buy one share at $7 and return the one borrowed share to my broker. I made $10 when I sold and only had to pay $7 to buy it back. Lower. So my profit is the $3 difference. But now let's say that instead of XYZ price dropping to 7, it goes up to 15. I still need to return the one borrowed share to my broker, except now it's going to cost me a lot more to buy it back. If I buy it back at 15 so I can return the borrowed shares, my losses will be the $5 difference between selling at 10 and rebuying at 15. Since the price can rise indefinitely, my potential losses as a short seller are unlimited. At some point, I have to buy it back to return the share I borrowed. The more the price rises, the bigger my losses. Now for GameStop, a few weeks ago, a Redditor on the subreddit Wall Street Bets noticed that a hedge fund had taken a massive amount of short trades against GameStop. They convinced everyone on the thread to join forces. They convinced everyone to join forces and buy as much GameStop stock as possible. This made the price rise, and the hedge fund's short position started to lose billions. Their losses even surpassed $13.1 billion that the hedge fund was worth. Eventually, the hedge fund had to close their short positions and buy all the GameStop stock back at much, much higher prices, sending the price even higher still. This is called a short squeeze. Now that the hedge fund is declaring bankruptcy and the Reddit thread is combing through the other hedge funds with massive short exposure so they can short squeeze them into bankruptcy as well, all of Wall Street is saying that the public joining together in this fashion should be illegal, but really they just lost at their own game to the masses. But did they? I have a bad feeling about all this. What's really going to come from all this. I see a lot of people losing money, getting very pissed off, and potentially doing something stupid. Trying to see. What other people said here. Public is power. And that's the thing. You see what when people come together, the things that they can do, what they can accomplish. Not just as one person, but as a whole. The differences are extraordinary. Think of everything that you can do. Someone says, so what is the potential fallout from this? Can this make our stock market crash since the power brokers would be removed? Or would it just mean that there would be a massive redistribution of wealth? I'm totally ignorant about all this stuff. Hey, right here, math is not my game. I hear you 100%. I'm just trying to approach this from a point of skepticism because the elite have historically been a lot smarter and more devious than we. And of course, they should do something as nefarious as sacrificing these hedge funds to serve a much greater and more evil purpose. Someone says the short answer is no, and the talking head saying that we are fear mongering for regulation, when the truth is that the GameStop play is a tiny drop in the bucket of Wall Street money. That makes sense. This isn't make or break points for the elites, but it's enough for some to show their true colors and try to hamper and slander retail investors. Who was the originator of this idea to short squeeze the hedge fund firms? Could that person have been a plant to kick the revolution off? Well, the powers that be use this as an excuse to enact a financial Armageddon of sorts. Hopefully this will be used as an excuse to prevent massive overshooting of stock, though likely hedge funds will just be so over-aggressive when information is publicly available. The person who started it likely isn't a plant, but truthfully, it doesn't matter, as more and more politicians and big names are coming out in support of retailers as they see the tide turn. This was reckless Wall Street greed getting caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and instead of covering their shorts, they doubled down and ate the whole jar, ceramic and all. Well, they kind of put things into perspective. I mean, maybe it just turns out and it isn't really, it'll turn out just to be a big bucket of nothing, and it's just news to divert us from what else is going on. Let's see here. I'm trying to find, I should have had this pulled up. I just thought of it. Probably won't be able to find it now. I seen this video. Oh, right here. Elizabeth from Knoxville. Watch this. This is something else. Let me know what you think about this. I don't know if you've ever heard of crisis actors. They've been talked about for a few years with the whole conspiracy community. People that are just actors for when these, false flags or, things that happen. And this is from the DC Capitol protest. And I found this interesting.
Ma'am, what happened to you?
I got maced.
You got maced? And what happened? You were trying to go inside the Capitol?
Yeah, I made like a foot inside and they pushed me out and they maced me.
What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Elizabeth. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
And why did you want to go in?
We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution.
Thank you.
Oh, this one didn't stop. Look at right there. You see right there. Try to blow this up. If you look in her hand in the towel, it's an onion. And she keeps rubbing her eye with it. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy, 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 crazy stuff. Oh, I'm not sure you can even see that. Oops. Right there. If you look in her hand. It's an onion. She just keeps rubbing her eye. This guy's just interviewing her. I mean, what's really going on? Who knows? There's so much information out there. You never know. In other news, let's switch it up a little bit. I found this interesting. Maybe you will as well. So NF today posted this on his Instagram. And it says here, NF Real Music, bringing a human into this world. I'm going to be a dad. The end. And the first thing I thought of upon reading that, was the end. It seems to me that he's kind of saying he's done with music. We haven't heard anything from him. He did post a few pictures earlier, during when the pandemic hit. He had to cancel his tour. And then he showed himself in the studio, and then he put out, this sample from a fan that he kind of went over and did a small collaboration with. we haven't heard anything. But that's likely from Nate. You know, he gets real quiet, and he doesn't like to talk much about what he's doing. He lets the hype fade, and then boom, drops it. But it worries me, you know. And we have Logic. You know, he said he was retiring, you know, to be a dad, which I totally admire. You probably have more than enough to support you and your family. But you know, with NF, if you're anything of a real artist, you can never totally walk away. There's always something to talk about. You know, hopefully he's just taking some time to, you know, get his head around this and, you know, be a father. Congratulations, Nate. If you happen to see this, if anyone's watching this and they know them, you know, I give my condolences. But, you know, it seems weird that he would say the end. You know, he's always been kind of mystic. I fear that album we were waiting for is going to be, at the very least, put on the back burner. It is still early in the pregnancy, so maybe he has some time to wrap it up and drop it before. Who knows? The world may never know. But with that, folks, I think I'm going to get on with my day. I just wanted to hop on here quick, you know, and see what other people were seeing and feeling, hearing, doing, you know. And like I said, if you happen to see this later after work or whatnot, you know, leave a comment below. Make sure to give a like. We got to get into the algorithm a little bit better here. You know, if you happen to see this and you like this content, you want me to continue, you boost my morale, give me a like, share your opinion. You know, I try to do this as often as possible, stay up to date with the news, stay in the loop. So with that, folks, like always, stay safe, do something productive, and Godspeed.